Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawnfawn, and today I'm sharing this card featuring the new Rub-A-Dub-Dub Lawnfawn stamps and dies, and I'm pairing it with the awesome quilted backdrop. This backdrop works for so many different kinds of cards. I love that all those little cutout pieces, when you put a piece of contrasting cardstock behind it, it pops through. What I'm going to do first is go ahead and stamp my images from Rub-A-Dub-Dub on some Neenah's Smooth White cardstock using the Lawnfawn Jet Black ink. This is a great ink for Copic Coloring. I am using all of the ducks from the Rub-A-Dub-Dub stamp set, the tub, the bubbles, some floating bubbles, and then two of the little water splashes. We're going to stamp those with mermaid ink. I am using the MISTI. That way, if I need to stamp anything more than once, I can easily do that because it's already lined up. Next, we're going to color in the images. And these ducks are some of my very favorites to color. I don't really know why. I just think they're really fun. The bills and feet on the ducks are colored with YR04 and YR09. Laying down my light color first, adding a little of the darker color, and then blending out where needed. Really pretty quick coloring here. I'm going to do the same thing for all of the ducks. I added Y19 along the edges of the duck, Y08 to blend that out, and then went back with Y11 to blend. Then I'm adding little dots, especially in the darkest areas of the duck. This is one of my very favorite techniques. I love how it adds texture and character to little critter images. I really love that. I even went in with Y08 and added a few more, pulling that out a little bit. I try to keep it really in the darkest areas of the duck and not all over. We're going to do the same thing for the remaining 3 ducklings, as well as the little rubber ducky that goes in the bathtub. The duck for the bathtub is definitely going to have the least amount. It's a smaller image, but we want to add just a little bit here. I kept it really consistent, very easy this way. Again, laying down just a tiny touch of my darkest color, pulling that color out, blending with my mid-tone color, and then going back with my lightest and smoothing out any of those harsh edges and blending. Quick coloring. They're so cute. I love these little ducklings. I think they're absolutely adorable. I think these would really be fun too to maybe pull in with the Hey There, the Farm Animals stamp set from the release. I think that you could add these to a farm scene very easily. Without the bathtub, of course. So once the ducks are all colored, we're going to move on to the bubbles. So I'm using B0000 and B000, very light blue. I only want a hint of that blue color in my bubbles. I don't really want them to be blue. I just want them to have a touch of color. And in fact, if any of the blue lines are too dark, I went ahead and blended that out with a colorless blender. It doesn't really blend so much as kind of spread the ink out, but it does help soften, I feel, and so that's what I did for the bubbles. The bathtub, the legs of the bathtub, I did a little bit darker with warmer grays, but then I'm pulling in warm gray 3 from the sides. I want it to kind of have this weathered, worn, old-fashioned look and feel. And so I pulled that out with warm gray 3, then pulled out with warm gray 1, and I'm going to finish with a covering of warm gray 00. And this is going to give that nice weathered, worn look to my bathtub. The legs are a little bit darker with warm gray 3 and 7. A little R20 for the cheeks of the ducks. And I'm ready to die cut all of my images. I am going to take a piercing tool. I did die cut the quilted backdrop off camera to save some time, and I'm popping out all of those little areas. Here is that die. It is my favorite. I just absolutely love this. I'm going to hide some glue dots behind the little quilted square areas on the background, just a few. Each of the corners, and then just a couple in the middle and maybe one on each side. And then I've trimmed a piece of mermaid cardstock to fit behind. And I'm going to flip my quilted backdrop over, line up that mermaid cardstock, and press that in place. When I turn it over, you're going to see those touches of mermaid cardstock peeking through all those little die cut openings, which I absolutely love. When you put a different color of cardstock back behind this, you're going to get a different look completely, and it just is such a fun die. I'm popping out all of my dies now, and I just have a couple more that I need to die cut. I need to die cut the bubbles, I need to die cut the little water splashes, and then I can start putting my scene together and adding my sentiment to finish off this card. So this scene is all going to be kind of taking place in the upper half of the card, and we're going to ground it with a banner greeting. So let's go ahead and add the bathtub, kind of centering that, adding the bubbles to the bathtub. To add some interest to this design, we're going to pop up the ducks with a little foam adhesive. And I like the Scrapbook Adhesives foam adhesive squares because while they do add some dimension, they are not super thick foam adhesive, so they're not going to be really difficult to mail, which I absolutely love. I added the little rubber duck to the bathtub and then took a glitter pin, a clear glitter pin, and added some glitter to the bubbles. We'll add some glossy accents here in a little bit as well. So some foam adhesive squares on the back of the duck. We're going to put a little water splash underneath his foot, like water has splashed out of the bathtub and is on the floor. Trying to get the little ducklings into the bath. Some smaller foam adhesive squares on these little guys. There's going to be about 2 ducks per side, so kind of framing up the bathtub, if you will. Here's the first one. The water splashes are so small, I used some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium, and I kind of put that in the wrong spot, so let's move that over just a tiny bit, to glue those in place on my card. Go ahead and add some foam adhesive to the other one that goes on the left side, and then we will finish with the little duckling over on the right. Now part of this duckling overlaps the large duck, and so we don't want foam adhesive where it overlaps. I put a glue dot behind its head and just 1 foam adhesive square behind the body. And then a foam adhesive square on the bubbles that will pop up there like they're floating up out of the bathtub, a little glitter pin to those bubbles. And then while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and take a black jelly roll pin, add detail to the eyes on all 5 ducks. And then we'll take some glossy accents. While I work on die cutting the banner and adding the greeting, this can start drying, but I'm going to put glossy accents on all of the bubbles floating up in the air, the bubbles in the bathtub, as well as the bills and feet on all of my ducks. When this dries, it gives a fantastic glossy finish that I really think adds to the whole card design. This is a pretty simple card, but all of these little details really help make it super fun and interesting. So let's set that aside to dry. I've die cut a banner using a lawnfawn fancy folded banner die, and I want to take a greeting from the Rub-a-Dub-Dub stamp set. I'm going to stamp I'm a Lucky Duck, but the banner is sort of curved. So this is where a stamp positioner comes in super handy. We're going to go ahead and put the banner in our MISTI, slightly bend or curve, I guess I want to say, that sentiment until it's lined up perfectly. And then we will stamp the greeting on that banner using Versamark ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. And that's really going to pop on this mermaid banner. I wanted to do the banner in mermaid cardstock because it really helps pick up the mermaid cardstock back behind the quilted backdrop. I love these folded banners, and it's really easy to just kind of gently curve your clear greetings to follow the line of the die. We're going to fold the banner then. You definitely want to wait to fold the banner until you're done because it makes stamping so much easier. Put glue dots on both of the ends, and then I'm going to put foam adhesive squares back behind the banner to help pop that up just a little bit. We'll just pull all of these off then, and this is what's going to be used to help ground the scene, so they're not just kind of floating out there in the middle of the card. I always like to try to find some way to kind of help ground images like this so that it really makes the card more interesting. So there is the greeting. That really finishes up the front of the card. So let's move to the inside of the card. I'm going to grab some additional sentiments and I'm going to stamp "to have you as my friend" on the inside. I love that you can customize the greetings really to work or fit with whatever occasion or the recipient of your card. I'm going to stamp this with mermaid ink. You could even switch that out for mom or dad if you wanted to instead of friend. Add some little splashes to the beginning and the end of the card with some additional images from the Rub-a-Dub-Dub stamp set. Go ahead and close the card, add adhesive to the front, place my quilted backdrop scene right there on top, and the card is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this Rub-a-Dub-Dub card featuring new stamps and dies from Lawnfawn. Please be sure to visit the Lawnfawn blog for more information. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.